the House Republicans have been calling many of these witnesses who, in my opinion, should have been deposed or at least appeared before the DOJ and others for years ago. I don't know why it's taken so long. Let's put this up there on the screen. They say Hunter Biden put then Vice President dad Joe Biden on the phone with business associates, quote, at least 24 times. That is according to the ex-business partner of Hunter Biden named Devin Archer. So Archer, who, by the way, just to be clear, is facing jail time for his role, quote, in a $60 million bond fraud. So not exactly the most savory character, although I guess, you know, this is Hunter who we're talking about here. So it's not like he was in business with the best. The thing is about Archer is that he says is that after dinner with the Burisma board at a very famous hotel in Dubai, he and Hunter then traveled 6 miles north to the Four Seasons Resort Dubai to have a drink with one of Hunter's friends. Quote, while they were sitting outside at the bar, a senior Burisma executive phoned to ask where they were because Burisma's owner needed to speak with Hunter urgently. Soon afterwards, 2 Ukrainians joined Hunter and Archer at the Four Seasons bar, and they asked Hunter, quote, can you ring your dad? Hunter then called his father, put him on speaker, placed the phone on the table, and introduced the Ukrainians to Joe Biden as the names of the 2 associates who were actively with him at the bar at the Four Seasons Hotel in Dubai. Also, I mean, just to give a little bit of more credence to this, Archer is actually pictured with Joe Biden and with Hunter Biden playing golf while he was the vice president of the United States. So it's undeniable that they actually had met in the past. Now, look, of course, people play golf with a lot of people, especially when you're vice president. Obviously, you take photos probably with tens of thousands of people a year. So it's not like that proves anything. But more so, we know for a verifiable fact that Devin Archer was a longtime business associate of Hunter Biden, involved in many of these sketchy foreign deals. I've known his name for years, having done some reading investigation and all this into the Chinese business dealings, to the Burisma dealings, and how he really was at the center of this. Mm-hmm. He was also there with John Kerry's stepson. The children of the elite really are amazing.
Gotta love the Nepo baby.
They're all in business together. It's incredible. But these people—
It's all merit-based, I'm sure.
Oh, it's very merit-based, of course. And they're multi-million, as if their parents' fortunes weren't enough. That's what always is interesting to me.
Right.
Anyway, so Devin Archer, like I said, is an unsavory character, certainly in his own right, certainly facing jail time and all of that right now that I alluded to. But he does have business. He has had past business deals with Hunter Biden. He's testifying under oath here, and remember, he is facing jail time, so it's not like he isn't still under scrutiny about some of these past instances. And he's going to say under oath that Vice President Biden spoke, quote, 24 times with business associates of Hunter. And this also backs up, Krystal, numerous allegations that Hunter not only introduced his Ukrainian business partners to his dad, but his Chinese business partners, while, remember, he flew on Air Force 2 to Beijing and then was conducting business while he was there, and according to them, had some sort of drive-by meeting while Hunter was raising billions of dollars from the CEFC fund, which I've spoken about here previously. It is now feeding, Krystal, into a lot more questions around, did Biden lie about not having those dealings with with his son?
Right.
And are the current White House denials, why have they started changing their language?
Right.
That's the key.
That's why I really think he screwed himself on the initial denials, which went so far as to say, I never even talked about the business deals with Hunter, which, by the way, if that's true, like, you should have been talking to him about them to be like, stop doing this crap, right? Number one. Number two, it's just hard to believe. You never had a conversation with your son about what he was up to. Come on. And so increasingly, you know, I mean, you got this guy out there who, listen, he's not the most trustworthy, savory character, but also he's under oath and he has no apparent reason to lie, at least no real, you know, motivation or whatever to lie, saying very directly that, yeah, Joe was on the speakerphone. He was read in on some of these deals at the very least. So you do have in recent weeks and months, instead of them leaning into the Joe never even talked to Hunter, now the messaging is, well, Joe wasn't involved in the business, which is, you know, a little bit of a subtle shift there. Karine Jean-Pierre was asked about exactly this shift in messaging by journalist Philip Wegman. Let's take a listen to how that went.
The president has previously said that he has never discussed overseas business dealings with his son, but the White House now says that the president has never been in business with his son. So why the updated language? Which statement is true? Or is this semantics and they're both true?
As I stated on Monday, when I was asked this question multiple times, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed on this. Nothing has changed on this. And so could ask me a million different ways on this question. Nothing has changed.
Nothing has changed, but the language has changed.
Yes.
And there is, increasing suggestion that, in fact, the initial language just a flat-out lie.
Oh, it is, absolutely. And we even have the video here we can show everyone from the campaign trail whenever Peter Doocy, Fox News' Peter Doocy, was the Biden campaign embed, and he repeatedly pressed Biden on many of these issues. This is also a good view into why it's important to get people on the record early when they are running. So years later, if it does turn out that they're lying, that you can point to it and show this. So this is from the campaign trail, 2019, where Biden is confronted exactly over business dealings with Hunter. All of this was actually known, much of it within the public record. Here's what Biden had to say.
I've never spoken to my son about overseas business.
And so how do you know?
Here's what I know. I know Trump deserves to be investigated. He is violating every basic norm of a president. You should be asking him the question, why is he on the phone with a foreign leader, trying to intimidate a foreign leader, if that's what happened? That appears what happened. You should be looking at Trump. Trump's doing this because he knows I'll beat him like a drum. And he's using the abuse of power and every element of the presidency to try to do something to smear me. Everybody looked at this, and everybody's looked at it and said there's nothing there. Ask the right question.
Ask the right question.
Grandpa needed
That's
a
not
nap.
the right question, Chris. The right question is not, did you speak with your son business? And the funniest thing, too, he's like, you should be asking Trump. Do you know how many times people ask Trump? You think Trump never got asked that question about the Ukrainian phone call? The perfect. Why do you even think they call it the perfect phone call? Because he talked about it ad nauseum all throughout his impeachment. He just didn't want to be asked. And I always think, it's a tragedy that Doocy really was the only one on that campaign trail who would ever ask him a damn thing about this. And it shows you once again why it is so important to press people on these things, even when it's uncomfortable, even when the media doesn't want you to do it, because he now said, I never spoke to him. Now it's I was never involved. Both of those are incongruent. And it's very obvious to me that that's a flat out lie. I also think not enough people pay enough attention to the very first debate when Trump was going after Hunter Biden. And they reference actually the Congressional Report that came out from Senator Ron Johnson, which lists many of the accusations against Hunter, which have all been verified now, specifically by the IRS about who he's getting money from. And Biden says again that not a single one thing in that report is true. I mean, the IRS is suing and prosecuting Hunter, the Department of Justice, for the exact business transactions that they validate inside of that report. That's another lie, from the campaign trail. It's amazing to me that the, the CNN, what is it, the Washington Post lie tracker or whatever. Where are you people now on this? You just disappeared into the ether. I checked the CNN guy, the fact check guy. He's still on Trump for some reason. I mean, sure, Trump is running, but dude, you gotta be able to show like some semblance of like actual fairness in terms of the coverage. So yeah, I just think it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, the one part of Biden's rant there that is fair is, of course, Fox News in particular doesn't go after Trump in that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I find that clip, that whole soundbite of him, it is like the perfect encapsulation of Democratic politics and of like Biden era politics, where it's like, yeah, I'm not great. Yeah, there might be problems there, but look at Trump. Look at Trump, look at Trump, look at Trump. That's the whole strategy. That's the whole thing right there in that soundbite. That's the whole bit. So it is kind of amazing to watch it unfold. But yeah, I mean, he used to say it very, very clearly. Never even spoke to Hunter about any of this. And that was a lie. I just cannot believe that is the case. And now we have increasing evidence that it was not the case. At the same time, there are some machinations going on over within the House Republican caucus about whether or not they want to move forward with impeachment against Joe Biden. Of course, you have put this up on the screen from Politico. You've got the more, sort of hard right part of the caucus very much in favor of it. You've got a number of moderates who are in Biden districts very uncomfortable with the idea of pushing forward with a Biden impeachment. McCarthy is trying to sort of walk the line right now of saying basically like, well, we might do impeachment investigation. That's different than an actual impeachment. So they haven't exactly put together what all this would look like. And, on the impeachment piece, it's interesting because the thing that they're contemplating going after Biden on would be corruption. And there's a reason why Democrats didn't go after Trump on the many manifest incidences of corruption. Instead, they went and did Russia and then, appropriately, I think, January 6th. But they didn't do corruption because they're all implicated in corruption. And so if the Republicans actually choose to go down this road of trying to impeach a president over actual corrupt dealings, that opens up a whole can of worms that, frankly, I would be very happy to see opened up and applied across the board. But I'm not sure if they look at their own lives and their own siblings, sons, daughters, cousins, brothers, aunts, whatever, business dealings, they might feel a little bit more uncomfortable with. So that's part of what, to me, is very intriguing about this prospect of the Biden impeachment.
Right. Let me tell you, Krystal, if they self-own themselves into making corruption an impeachable offense, go for it, man. I mean, listen, let's set the historical precedent. Let's get the trial. Let's get the impeachment thing going. I'm loving it. I think a hell of a lot more people should be impeached. So, look, they impeached Trump twice. The first one, in my opinion, was the biggest load of BS that we have seen yet in terms of impeachment. And, in particular, a lot of us said, I recall, covering it at the time, is like, hey, guys, you shouldn't be, just ripping the Band-Aid off for something like this because it can really come back to bite you. And so, again, if the Republicans, want to continue to erode the norm around impeachment, open the door then in the eyes of U.S. history to impeach people for actual corruption and not just let some Ford, drama play out where you get pardoned after you leave office and you have to resign and live in a multi-million-dollar mansion in California, I'm all for it. I think it's great. So, yeah.
Well, the other thing I will say is, and they even sort of acknowledge this, they don't exactly have the goods yet on Biden in terms of there's suggestions, there's uncorroborated evidence, there's this uncorroborated intelligence report or whatever. They need to have more of a smoking gun direct tie-in than what they have right now, I think, on Biden in order for this to work out and for the American people to accept that this is a sort of legitimate direction. And then the other thing, which we've said before, is with the Hunter stuff, and if you're gonna impeach Joe, leave the dick pics out of it. It does not help your cause, right? And this is what you see on both sides of the aisle, honestly. They radically overreach. And then the pieces that are actually legitimate seem like such small ball in comparison to the wild overreaching accusations that are made that the public then just looks at it and they're like, oh, this is it? This is not a big deal to me. So after the grand conspiracy, Russia gets a perfect example. We were told there were P tapes and all of this stuff and that there was some low-level sketchiness is all that it amounts to. This is ultimately nothing based on what we were originally sold.
Yeah, I mean, people may interpret what I said as saying that the first impeachment about the Zelensky phone call with Trump, I said it was BS. Yeah, as a matter of impeachment. I didn't say it was a good phone call. But it's like you can judge things on their merits and be like, yeah, I don't think presidents should probably talk that way. Do I think you should be impeached over it? Hell no. And that's where, it's just so good that they try and assign historical gravity to things. And then they end up messing it up by really focusing on the most salacious or the worst parts of it. And then when those end up don't becoming true.
Or making stuff up.
Outrageous stuff, making things up. And then when those don't end up be true, and then the underlying accusations, which can be bad, but there are gradations of bad. And that's one of the actually things that we've lost, not only in media, but in political discourse as well, around how all of this stuff goes down. So anyway, I think it's interesting, important. It was a crazy day, absolutely, yesterday to watch all this full. I also got to say with the media, too, they had no idea how to handle this. They would be like, a slight hiccup or whatever in Hunter's legal proceeding. I'm like, it's not a slight hiccup. I'm like, this is crazy to see.
This was a disastrous day for him.
It was terrible.
He thought this was going to be it for him. He was going to be done.
Yeah.
And even if the judge does decide ultimately to accept this plea deal, even with its quote atypical portions, the fact that FARA is still hanging out there, that's the foreign, unregistered agent, lobbyist, whatever, that stuff, that's still hanging out there, that's a disaster for him.
He is guilty as sin on the FARA thing. There is no, and if you are going to prosecute Manafort, and I don't even remember what the other guy's name is, and I mean, it's kind of like the documents case. How can you look at that set of facts and not prosecute the person under? You have to, no matter what the last name is. So if they don't, it's going to be absolutely outrageous.
Yeah.
Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.